Hey there, everyone. Before we start the show, we here at Popcorn for Dinner want to give a big shout out to our good friend and illustrator, Kyle Kedzik, for helping us celebrate making it to 40 episodes with some brand new custom artwork, which is now up on all of our social media accounts. We love it. We hope you love it. And if you're looking for some new custom artwork for your business or project, you can look him up on Facebook at Kyle Kedzik, or even drop him a line at kylekedzik@gmail.com. That's KYLEKEDZUCH@gmail.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
Tom Cruise month is going to continue this week with Days of Thunder, which is oddly a perfect movie for the day that we're recording, not the day that you're listening, because today NASCAR officially banned Confederate flags from their sport.
Yes.
And what does this NASCAR movie begin with but a long-held shot on a fucking Confederate flag waving in the wind? I was like, oh, okay, all right. I mean, I knew the movie wasn't going to be about, like, white nationalism or anything. But I was just like, oh, yep, okay.
That's NASCAR
we're
for
in
you.
NASCAR. Yeah, that's what this is all about. So it's funny that that just happened now, right after we watched the movie. Hey, how about that? Days of Thunder, this was something that I'd definitely heard of before, and I knew that there's a Simpsons episode where Bart races in like a sort of soapbox derby kind of thing or whatever it is. What's it called? Is it called a soap? Okay. And, is it Martin? I think it's Martin Prince drives a car and then they crash and then Martin can't drive, so he tells Bart to drive his car, and that whole thing is a play on Days of Thunder. So I think it's called like Sundays of Thunder or something like that. Like it's clearly riffing on it, but I never knew any of the references or anything they were doing. It was just like, all right, this is a Simpsons episode and there's a movie somewhere out there that I'm not going to get around to watching until way later. But similar to that fucking Ted Bundy movie, this movie was stacked. Totally did not realize how stacked it was.
Right.
I was like, it's a Tom Cruise movie, so it's got Tom Cruise, and, you'll probably get a couple other people. But all of a sudden, it's just like, bam, Robert Duvall. Bam, Randy Quaid. Bam, fucking Michael Rooker. Bam, fucking Carrie Elways. Bam, Nicole Kidman. Bam, John C. Reilly. Bam. Like, holy shit, dude, this movie just went off the rails with all the people in it. I loved it.
Yeah,
I was so excited.
I completely missed Michael Rooker's name in the opening credits.
Oh, yeah.
And so one of my early notes was, is that Merle? Like, I couldn't remember the actor's name. I was like, no, that is Merle.
In my head, I thought there's like 3 tiers for how you know Michael Rooker. So it's like if you go up to like any random person, top tier probably now is like, Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy, the blue guy, and everyone go like, oh, okay. If they don't get that, then you go to Merle, like Walking Dead Merle, and be like, oh yeah, Merle. And if they're still not there, then you go to the bald dad in Mallrats. Remember? That's what I always think of him. It's Mr. Svenning.
Yeah, the one that eats the pretzels.
Yeah, exactly. Michael Rooker, I fucking love seeing him pop up and stuff. And I was really glad. I was like, oh, kick ass. He's like a dude in this movie. He's not just he's not like John C. Reilly in this movie.
Yeah.
Where he's in like a handful of scenes. He's kind of there.
I feel like we saw more of John C. Reilly than we saw of Carrie Elways, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with like this kind of like style of movie is that it's like, since it's a sports movie, like the antagonist can't really be that bad. Yeah. It's like they're still in the sport, like unless they've, they do something specifically that like almost kills someone or whatever, or like they do it on purpose and they're super evil. But in this case, he's just like, I'm a really good driver, and now I'm driving. I got my chance, and I'm still here while you're driving, so I'm going to try to beat you. And the movie like tried to make him seem villainous. Yeah. But it's like, he's a driver. He's driving, whatever. If he loses at the end, oh well, but it's not like he just fucking deserves it. Like that motherfucker with all that shit he did. If anything, I feel worse for him because of what fucking Cole does later in the movie.
Yeah.
But we'll eventually get to that. Because this movie, it hit me partway through where I realized, I'm like, oh my God, this is probably one of the most sort of formulaic movies we've done where, it's just such a clear, it's like, yeah, you got the hotshot rookie and the old mentor who gets dragged back in, and he's got to teach the young rookie how to do it, and working together, they eventually win the big thing. And so it's like, okay, I sort of saw where everything was going as we were watching it. I was like, oh, okay, it's one of those.
I've seen Cars.
Exactly. It's kind of a similar thing. Except, well, yeah, similar enough. And I couldn't help but think of how, okay, so Cole Trickle is... Oh my God,
what a name.
It's a reference to Dick Trickle, who is an actual driver for NASCAR. It's, I was going to say one of those names where it's like you have to do something to prove yourself if you have that name. Yeah. So it's like, okay, he became a big, tough race car. I mean, tough, who knows how tough any of these guys are, but big macho, masculine, driving big cars kind of guy. It's like, yeah, because my name's fucking Dick Trickle. But Cole Trickle, I don't know what open wheel driving it. I think that's what it was called. That's what they said he came from. He used to drive this, and now he's going to come to NASCAR and drive stock cars because he already accomplished a whole bunch of shit, and he wants to go to Indianapolis, but he doesn't have enough of a name for himself, so he kind of has to prove himself. That's what I gleaned from it, as far as I understand.
From the way that he was talking and that, it seemed kind of like he came from an F1 sort of Formula One racing.
Yeah, maybe
sort of thing.
I'm trying to think of who these characters align with in Talladega Nights, which is so clearly now, in retrospect, a huge parody of Days of Thunder. Oh yeah, including John C. Reilly. But realizing oh wait, yeah, because if Cole is represented by Sacha Baron Cohen's character, the French driver who just shows up and wrecks the place, then yeah, he just came from F1. So yeah, I guess maybe that's the specific thing. Yeah, there. But yeah, so he shows up. I don't even really understand the ins and outs of the sponsorships and the teams and all that kind of shit. Obviously I understand what sponsorships are, but I don't, what is Randy Quaid's character? He's a guy who sells cars, and now he's putting his name on a car
on a team.
NASCAR on a team. But that's what's the team? Because I know that there's multiple drivers for teams.
And for the bigger teams, yes.
Right, but it's that makes no sense to me. How is there a winner? How is there a team if there's only one winner? You know what I mean? It's you win the race and you're the winner of the race. And it's oh, and I have a teammate. It's yeah, but your teammate lost. Your teammate didn't get first place. You got first place, singularly.
I mean, I guess it's possible that there's other rewards, smaller rewards for other placements in the race.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's points.
Yeah,
I get that there's a system there, but it still just seems so weird to me. It's yeah, you want to win the race. That's what you want to do. It's not just you never hear anyone talk about oh man, he's gonna accumulate some points. You know what I mean? It's it's you want to win the fucking race. The whole point is to win. So to have a team just seems weird to me, but I'm just I'll let it be because it's I don't understand it. I don't watch NASCAR. I don't understand the ins and outs of it. And from what I've read, NASCAR drivers watching this movie were they got everything wrong. They're one person said, they got the numbers on the side of the cars right. And that's it. That's where it ends. So it's okay, you don't necessarily have to understand because you basically get it. Randy Quaid wants to build a car and have a driver for that car. He has a driver who doesn't have a car. So he goes to Harry, Robert Duvall, who's an old hand at training drivers, and maybe he was a driver, I think they mentioned, I forget. But either way, he's the guy to build the car, and Tom Cruise is the guy to drive the car. And so he gets this crew together to win races, get points, whatever the fuck it is. And so they don't get along, obviously, because they have to not get along at the beginning. That's the whole point. He's the hot shot that the fucking old guy doesn't like, and to him, the old guy is an old fart who doesn't get it and whatever.
Yeah.
And he shows up. That first thing because they have Michael Rooker driving a car. And I'm like, okay, so he's a driver. In terms of everyone we got introduced to in this movie, he's driving. That's his car that they're driving around this track, like all alone, obviously like a practice run or whatever. And they're going to let someone else come in and drive that car as like a test. And I was like, why would he let that happen? And then I'm like, okay, teams, but not, because they're like rivals and they fucking try to run each other off the road. I'm like, is that how teams work? Or like, are you competing against your own teammates as well as everyone else? I don't know, but they clearly hate each other at first. And I don't blame Rooker because, of course, fucking Tom Cruise shows up on a motorcycle looking all cool, like as soon as they start talking about him.
Yeah.
Like, where's your driver? Who's this driver? Where'd you get this driver? And then he rolls up on a motorcycle. And I was like, that's why his name is in the fucking credits as like the story by, is because I'm sure that he was like, so my character totally has a motorcycle and he totally fucking rolls up on it and he looks awesome as hell. Like, yeah, I'm sure you wrote that part, Tom.
Yeah.
So they like, you know, he's a natural driver, sort of, but he doesn't quite understand NASCAR. And then he has like a little secret that comes out a little bit later that I thought was hysterical. But like they build him a car. He qualifies for the race or whatever, like before NASCAR, for the season or whatever, however you do that.
Yeah.
And so now he's driving, Rooker's driving, but Tom Cruise can't finish a race. Cole cannot finish a race. He keeps like wrecking everything. And I was like, okay, so he like doesn't get it, or he doesn't care, or he's just like reckless. So, like, I wasn't quite sure what to think of his character because truthfully you don't really get to know him.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like, I really like driving, and at one point he has a line, I wrote a shitload of notes, so it's going to take me a while when I like think of something like, oh wait, I gotta go find this, because he has a line towards the end of like, oh yeah, I'm more afraid of being nothing than I am of being hurt. And it's like, this is all you have in your life is driving cars.
Yeah.
But he can't finish the race, everything keeps getting wrecked, and fucking Robert Duvall like confronts him about it, and he lets him in on his secret that he doesn't know dick. Like he's like, I literally don't understand what you just said to me.
Yeah.
Like that is how little I understand cars. I was like, man, I relate to Cole because I truthfully have no fucking idea about what half the shit they talked about meant or what it was. But I was just like, I'm here for the ride. I assume that makes the car go. Let's just keep this moving. So I thought that was hysterical that he didn't know anything about cars, and I thought it was, if not maybe like super original, it at least gave it like an interesting sort of thing to it. You know what I mean? It's like it's not like I have a secret, I'm a horrible alcoholic, or you know, something like that. It's literally, it's like, I don't know anything about cars. I don't know why the tires keep melting. Like it's completely foreign to me. Literally, you just put me in the car and I'll drive, but that's all I got.
Yeah.
I have no way to like communicate to you what I need because I don't know.
Yeah.
And that sort of breaks down the barrier between them, and then they can kind of become buds.
Yeah. He starts winning races then after that. First off, quick side note. His like overreaction driving, like the shots of him driving during a race, god awful. He was jerking the steering wheel around so much, like he would have crashed like in the first 30 seconds if he actually drove a car that way.
Which is
awful.
Sorry, which is super crazy too, because like the idea for this movie came because Tom Cruise drove one of those cars. Like he got the opportunity to drive one of those cars, and he like blasted around the track and had a great time and was like, this is amazing. Well, we should make a movie about this. And so to like get it so wrong, it's like, you've driven them.
Yeah. Like how do
Obviously not in a race, but
yeah, but still, like you've driven a fast car, like a racing car. And I'm assuming you've driven regular cars. Like, you know that you can't drive straight by jerking the wheel back and forth. Like, that's not how it works.
Yeah, I mean, that sort of thing definitely just washed over me of just like, yeah, movies, people, you know, they can't.
They forget how to drive.
Well, they just, since they're not driving, they just feel like they have to overcompensate. Because like, if I do nothing, then it's like I'm doing nothing.
Yeah.
So they have to do something to make it seem like they're driving, but in the end, it winds up looking stupid.
Yeah.
But other than those sort of moments, I truthfully super dug like how this movie was shot and how the races are shot. It seemed not ahead of its time, but maybe, because I don't truly know that much about like racing movies and shit, but it's like 1990 and that looked like modern movie racing. You know what I mean? It's like it looked sleek and the cuts were good, and you know, just like the like clearly like mounting the camera on a car while it's driving, you know, and all that sort of stuff. It looks so fucking cool.
Yeah.
And as annoying as it was throughout the movie to have to keep upping and downing the fucking volume because of the volume discrepancies, I was like, that's a bummer on like a home viewing, but I'll bet you that fucking murdered in the theaters.
Oh, absolutely.
When people went to go see it. Like, I read that it wasn't a huge thing. Like, it made enough money, but it wasn't some sort of like crazy super hit.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm sure people came out of that movie telling other people to go see it just for that shit. You know what I mean? I was like, just the fucking sound design when the cars are coming at you.
It rattled.
Yeah, really. I think it was at least nominated for an Oscar for its sound.
That makes
specifically
sense.
for that, like how well it was put together and everything.
Yeah. Like, I have family members that like NASCAR. I don't understand it. It's watching guys drive around in a circle for like 3 hours straight. I don't get it. So I have a little bit of knowledge, just kind of like being around when they're watching a race or whatever. And the sound is accurate. Like, I know you said like NASCAR drivers watched it and said that the only thing they got right was the numbers on the side of the car. But clearly it was nominated, if it was nominated for, you know, sound design, absolutely deserved, because the audio of the races was perfect.
Yeah, it was super fucking cool. It's like a cheesy movie, and there's a love story that is just absolutely unnecessary.
Yeah.
I wrote specifically, I was like, if there's any movie that didn't need a romantic subplot, it's this movie.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally all about the fucking driving and like the cars and his fears and what he wants to be. And it's just like, and there's no fucking need. Like, I don't care about there being a doctor, because that whole plot line, like that was interesting.
Yeah, that made sense.
Yeah. And I don't even really care about it being Nicole Kidman, other than that she's really young for being like a neurosurgeon. But,
she was adorable, though.
Yeah, it's like either you'll let it go, whatever. But just the fact that it's like, oh, and also we fall madly in love with each other over the course of the movie. I was like, completely unnecessary. Does not matter.
Yeah. Especially
because at the end, it's just like, so what did she get?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the whole time after he fucking wrecks, because he wrecks. Like, that's a huge fucking thing in the movie. That's kind of like the main conflict, because there's not really an antagonist.
Yeah.
It's like Michael Rooker's kind of a dick, and they're rivals. And then once he comes back, then it's Russ, Carrie Elway's character, who kind of becomes the like rival racer guy, whatever. So there's not really an antagonist, but the huge conflict of the movie is the fact that him and Rooker fucking wreck hardcore.
Yeah.
And they're both out of commission. And then, you know, a big chunk of the movie is just their like journey back to becoming racers again. Which, again, as soon as I was watching it, I was like, fucking Ricky Bobby, man. It's like literally the same fucking movie. Gets in a huge crash, gotta fight his way back. Oh, it's hysterical. So, you know, they wreck, their brains are swelling, you know what I mean? It's like they have concussions, and it's like bad news all around.
Cole goes blind for a little bit.
Yeah. And he gets better. Like, he goes and takes a physical and then also bangs her because, of course.
Yeah.
But like, he goes and gets his physical and everything seems okay. But Rooker doesn't go. I refuse to call him Rowdy. I hated that his character name was Rowdy. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
But Rooker doesn't go because he's like an old school guy who's like, I don't need no doctors telling me that I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna die. Who cares? It seemed like his attitude towards it.
Yeah.
And then eventually Cole goes back, but Rooker like will never drive again.
Yeah.
So, you know, the doctor being a character in the movie, it's needed. It's necessary there to be a doctor that they go and visit and that is concerned about Michael Rooker's character, because later she's like, you should go see him, or you should have him call me, or he needs to get checked, and then he just keeps refusing, and it gets worse, and then he's never going to drive again and all that. So the doctor is fine, but he starts acting really reckless,
right?
And she's pissed off about it. Like, you were in a huge wreck. You could have died. Your brain was swelling. You're obviously terrified to go back out there. But because Rooker asks him to drive his car, which did not make any sense to me at all. But he's like, he asks him to drive his car for him at Daytona. So he goes back out there, and she's like pissed off at him again about that. Like, you're going to go and drive again, and you're probably going to get yourself killed because you're reckless and all that. And then he wins the race, and she just happened to stick around, and then for some reason she starts cheering for him, and then at the end of it, she's like super happy about it.
Yeah.
And I was like, you were just furious at this guy.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the day. And then he goes and does the thing that you didn't want him to do, and you're like, you know what? I love you. It's like totally pointless. No need for that. Like, you could have had the doctor character do everything except bang Tom Cruise through the movie that she already does. And then at the end be like, you know what? Fine. Make your choice. You do what you're going to do. I'm going to leave. And then have the doctor fucking leave.
Yeah.
Because sticking around and then being like, you know what? That was pretty cool. It just seems to undermine the whole point of the character.
Fine enough performance from Nicole Kidman. But yeah, completely unnecessary for it to be a love situation.
Yeah.
No, you're a doctor. He's your patient. Just leave it at that.
Yeah. Especially like, I can't get over like so much of their crew. So, because it's like Robert Duvall is the guy who builds the car. Randy Quaid is the guy like financing it all.
He's the owner.
He's the owner of the team. Robert Duvall comes in to do the car. John C. Reilly's one of the like pit dudes. There's other dudes who don't really get names or or anything specific. They're just kind of there, and you assume like
part of the pit crew.
They're the rest of the crew. And the antics that these people get into
God,
so bizarre. Like, so many out of the blue like wrestling matches where someone would just grab the other one and like literally take them down. Like, not even just like, hey, I'm kind of roughhousing with you. Like, full on takeouts.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
Like Zeke and Bob's Burgers.
Exactly. I'll go get you. So it's like all of that stuff was just goofy nonsense. But my favorite part of the movie is something that didn't necessarily happen in the movie, but I was like, oh man, if only. Because so he wins his first race and they're all like driving on the bus and they're celebrating and they're drinking and whatever. And then all of a sudden you hear police sirens and John C. Reilly gets that fantastic line of like, I believe we're being pulled over.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the silliest thing. And they get out and it's like a bunch of cops. And they're lining them all up against the fucking van that they're driving in. And they're talking to them about, that the alcohol that they have is, illegal, crossing the state lines, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
For distribution.
Yeah, distribution. And he's like, oh, I'm just drinking it. And they're like, that doesn't make it legal and all that. And I was like, okay, this seems kind of weird. Like, what is this? What's going to happen? Is he going to like punch a cop and get in trouble or something like that? Like, I don't know. And it turns out that the whole thing is a giant prank. And the lady cop is actually a stripper who grabs Tom Cruise's junk and then like tears her clothes off, and all the guys start laughing. And I'm sitting there like, who are those other cops?
Yeah.
Who are those men that are also dressed in, like, did they get 3 male strippers and 1 female stripper just to make it seem on the level? Like, yeah, there's a bunch of them. You guys don't actually have to strip.
Yeah.
You just have to show up and look like cops. She's the only one who's going to be stripping. It's just like, it's the silliest thing. And I just wrote down, I was like, all of that was a prank. Wow. Like, these dudes are fucking, like, that is some serious commitment to a bit of like, think of pre-internet, all the phone calls you'd have to make to get that to happen.
Yeah, that would be insane.
Like, all the shit you'd have to figure out, and also being like, so we're going to be driving through here at this point of the night. You have to come and pull us over. I'm going to tell the driver that this isn't real. Like, I assume the driver must be in on it too.
Yeah, it seemed like everyone but Cole was in on it.
Yeah, but it's just like all that shit just to be like, we got you a stripper. I thought it was the fucking silliest thing in the world. And then the meeting between Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's character, who eventually I found out his name was Claire. I swear to God, they didn't say her name for the first hour that she was in this movie.
Yeah,
they were always like, Dr. Lewecki, Dr. Lewecki, Dr. Lewecki. And then he would just talk to her and not use her name. And I was just like, I'm just going to keep writing Dr. Lewecki in my notes because I don't know her fucking name.
I was just writing Nicole Kidman. I didn't want to figure out Lewecki.
Yeah. So when they like meet up, all of his crew has come into the hospital room with him where he's like finally waking up after he, got in the wreck and he's unconscious and concussion and all that shit.
Which, quick side note, he absolutely still would have been in a neck brace if there was some sort of spinal injury.
Wait, at what point? In the hospital?
Oh, like when he's waking up so that he doesn't like jerk awake and fuck something. Although maybe there wasn't a spinal injury. Maybe it was just swelling on his brain.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So she comes in and she's trying to tell him like what's happening. Like, this is what happened to your fucking brain. And he like looks up at her and he sees that she's like a pretty lady. And he immediately assumes that this is another prank. And he like just puts her hand on his dick. And she's like, anyway, and just takes her hand off and is like, and your brain is bleeding, by the way. See ya. Like, she's just like, this is insane. And now all the guys start laughing at him. And it's like obvious that it's, Robert Duvall at one point, he tries to stop him. He's like, no, Cole.
Yeah.
I know what you're thinking. I know you think this is another one of these crazy, ridiculous pranks. But like the fact that he thought that at that time made me laugh really hard because as soon as that wreck happened, when fucking Cole hits Rowdy and the whole thing goes fucking berserk and the helicopters show up and start pulling him out.
Yeah.
I just wrote, hilarious if all of this was a prank too. Like the crash, the helicopters, the everything. So when he wakes up from his like fucking medically induced coma and he's like, this must be a prank. I was like, I thought that too, Cole. That seemed like what was going on. In my head, I was just like, throughout the rest of the movie, I was like, I can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
Because at any point, another ridiculously convoluted prank is going to happen. It's like, that's not Rowdy's wife. That's a stripper. Like, oh my God. So silly. They crash. Rowdy will never drive again. Cole takes his car.
Well, it's after the crash, they start to become friends because they're forced to drive to dinner together.
God.
But can't agree on who's going to drive the car. So they wreck 2 rental cars instead.
I was just like, as soon as that dude said, like, we're all going to go out to dinner and you two are going to drive there together. I was like, is this a fucking sitcom bet that they lost? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and you have to be Rowdy's slave for a week or something. Like, really? They have to drive together? Like, what does this fucking matter?
Yeah.
Like, other than you telling them, like, hey, quit fucking around.
Yeah.
And don't crash into each other, even though they had nothing to do with the wreck that hurt them.
Yeah.
Like, that was a wreck that happened, and then they drove into the smoke, and they happened to fucking wreck.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with them, like, bumping each other, but the fucking, like, king of NASCAR, whatever the fuck that guy was, he was just like, I don't want that on my tracks. And it's like, what? Accidents? You're in the wrong sport. Like, it's absurd to blame them for that accident. But yeah, so they race and crash cars, and there are no police. They drive all over that town and the beach, and like on both lanes, and they drive up on the sidewalk, and they're racing each other and smashing each other and just destroying these cars. And I'm like, nowhere. There is nobody who's out there like, wonder what they're doing. Yeah. Like, oh, just some good old fashioned driving. Yeah. It's absurd.
I really hope they got the insurance on those cars.
It seemed to me like they dropped those cars off, like they pulled up to the restaurant with those cars and left them for the valets to like do something with.
Yeah.
Like, what? Did you tell them anything, or did you just leave those smoking husks of cars right by the valet thing? Like, all right, when they get here, they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Like, what are they supposed to do with this?
Your problem now.
Yeah. But they become buds pretty much because of that. I don't know why. Like, it was a perfectly fine like character moment, but it felt so much like flirting when they got back, like they got to the dinner, and it was like, oh, you guys make it? Like, you guys doing all right? It's like, no, yeah, we had some car troubles. I think it was the radiator, wasn't it, Cole? And he like looks over, he's like, yeah, was the radiator. And they like share this like little wry smile with each other. It's like, oh, this is adorable. They'll like each other. And they do. Like they become buds, and that's why they go out to Rowdy's like farm upstate or some shit where he collapses, and they learn like, oh shit, he's got worse medical shit going on than Cole does. Yeah. And he's probably gonna I thought he was gonna die. Yeah. I was like, here it comes. They'll have the fucking funeral scene, and then Cole will ride for him. And I was like, okay, it's pretty much the same story, just he didn't die. Yeah. He gets really sick and will never drive again. So Cole drives for him.
Has to have brain surgery.
Yeah. I forget exactly the sequence of events. He crashes and then he comes back, right? Like Cole comes back for a race before the big ending race. And he's racing, and now he's racing against Carrie Elway's character, Russ. Yeah. And in the process, I think it's like because he was like scared or something, right? He purposefully did something to his car. Yeah, to like not win or something.
Yeah, he like blew the engine out, having the RPMs too high for too long.
Yeah, something like that. And again, like that, it seems like there might have been more races that I'm forgetting. Like there's just so many races that I can't piece them together, like you know what I mean. But like Russ wins. He wins the race. He's driving around the track with the fucking checkered flag, waving it around. Like he is the winner, and as far as anyone's concerned, the rightful winner. Like he doesn't cheat. He doesn't do anything underhanded. You know what I mean? Like if he bumps someone into a wall, like well, fucking everyone is doing that all the time. Even Cole does it. So it's like that. You can't use that as like a villainous thing. Yeah. Like, oh, what a bastard. Like literally, that's one of the first things in the movies. They say rubbing is racing. Yeah. Like that is the point. So fucking, what are you going to do? Like he's not evil. But then Cole decides to just tear ass out from the pit, out onto the track while Russ is taking his victory lap, and just fucking T-bones him. Yeah. And I was like, so he's gone, right? Forever? Yeah. Like, how could that not be an immediate, like, not just suspension, but like ban?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I mean, I guess it's a bad example because you don't see people getting banned for this, but it's like when a fucking hockey player takes a stick to someone's head, like whacks them with it. Yeah. Where it's like, you are no longer playing the game. It's no longer a part of the sport. You are using something from the sport as a deadly weapon. Like T-boning a dude taking the victory lap should be banned. Like that's the only thing I could think of.
Agree.
And then the movie like moves on, and he's, you know, the hospital shit, and Rowdy's getting worse. And I was like, I honestly would not mind if this movie had no more races in it. You know what I mean? Just have it move. You know, it's like, okay, this is your entire life, Cole. Now you can't do it. Yeah. Where do you go from here? Show some real character or something. Like, what do you do about it? Even if it winds up just being like, and he kills himself. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, but like to have to be faced with that sort of decision. Yeah. But then the movie's just like, no. He's fine. He can race. Like he's physically able to race. And also somehow NASCAR is going to let him race. And they don't explain it at all. They don't even mention that. Nope. Russ has like one line about it. He says something about like the things he's doing out there are putting other people and himself in danger. And I was like, he's right. Yep. He is 100% right. Again, he's not being a villain right now. Like, the movie really wants him to be, but he's not. Like in the end, he wins, and it's like, okay, whatever. And he uses the slingshot technique that he A has used before, and B did the whole like thing on Nicole Kidman's leg with the sugar packets and whatever. And as soon as he started that, I was like, so drafting will win the big race. Gotcha, movie. You know, not even to be like, you were trying to sneak it past me, movie, but more just like, I see where you're going. Yeah. So he wins the race, and Robert Duvall is he's not that psyched. Yeah. He's kind of sitting there sad, and they're talking about it. And, you know, his backstory to the movie is that he built the car. He was part of the crew for Buck's dad, John C. Reilly's character's dad. Yeah. Who at the beginning of the movie, I heard it on the like radio right at the beginning, and I was like, this is going to be important. It has to be important. This movie is not the kind of movie that is not going to like lay everything out ahead of time. Because they're talking about like, and that fatal wreck last year at Daytona. I was like, that's something in this movie. Yeah. And it's like, that was what made Robert Duvall quit, was that he was involved. Like it was his driver who crashed and died. I thought we were going to get a real answer on that. Yeah. That barn scene later. I was like, here comes the truth. Yeah. And then it wound up just being like, no, everyone's still just sort of denying.
Yeah.
And you're still unsure. Because at the beginning, they say that, well, Robert Duvall says that the driver had a heart attack and was dead before the car hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tom Cruise in that barn scene later, he's like, why'd you quit? What happened that day? Why didn't you let them investigate? People said that it was because you used, this thing and this other thing. I'm not going to remember exactly what it was, but it was like this thing and this other thing, and the cab filled up with carbon monoxide, and that killed him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he crashed, and that's why he didn't want, an investigation or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, okay, Robert Duvall's character, Harry, all right, like, admit it. Yeah. Have your big dramatic scene where you, admit it and beg for forgiveness or something. And he just goes like, no, it was a heart attack. And then they just drop it.
Like,
I was like, what?
I think he admits that it wasn't a heart attack, but he didn't say what it was. He said something along the lines of like, you don't want to know the details
really?
or something like that. I'm pretty sure.
Because I know that he said that he was like, he was talking up a storm before he hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like he wasn't unconscious.
Yeah.
He didn't pass out from carbon monoxide and then hit the wall.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that just meant that that he was just like saying like the normal story is the true story. He had a heart attack and he died. It wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't, solve anything for any of these characters. You know what I mean? It's like the whole point, like the beginning of the movie, Randy Quaid's telling him like, you got to come back, you got to build. And he's like, oh, I don't know about it. And he has to be like coaxed back into it. And it's like, yeah, because he feels so much guilt for this thing that happened to this guy. And then by the end of the movie, it seems like it kind of doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like he's just like, yeah, that was pretty shitty, wasn't it? Okay, let's go race. Like, wait, you're not going to reckon with that at all or nothing? No?
Yeah.
No, a little bit. Overall, I liked Robert Duvall's like mentor character.
Mm-hmm.
I liked a lot of the things that he did. I liked a lot of the like funny bits. Apparently that was based on a true story when Tom Cruise asks if he can come in to take a pit stop and they're like, sorry, we're all eating ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
That was a real thing that happened in a real race to a real driver who was like, I'm going to come in, and they're like, no, go another one. We're all eating ice cream. That's pretty fucking hysterical.
Oh man.
But I really liked his whole tires thing that he did, that he tricked him with, where it was just like, your tires are fucking, I forget exactly how it went. It's like, Tom Cruise always melts the tires because he doesn't understand how to do it.
Right.
So Robert Duvall teaches him how to do it right. Mm-hmm. And the tires don't melt, and he actually finishes like faster than he did. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, now Tom Cruise understands that's how you work the tires. Like that's how you're supposed to drive.
Well, because Tom Cruise was used to the tires of the old racing.
Yeah. The like big wide ones instead of the like thinner ones. So he has to learn how to work with those. I mean, he has to learn how to do pretty much everything. He doesn't understand cars.
Yeah.
But something's going on with the tires, and Harry tells him that they put special tires on. He's like, you'll be able to do the thing I'm telling you to do.
I think that may have been that like fourth turn.
Yeah, it was something like that. But it was earlier in the movie than that, I thought. Again, all the races blend together.
Yeah.
So he tells Cole that like, we put special tires on specifically so you could do the thing that you need to do. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he goes to do it. And I wrote into my notes, I was like, I don't understand what he just said. I am much like Cole. Like, I don't know why these tires are supposed to help him, but I just assume that it's a car thing. Okay. Yeah. And then the race is over and he wins, and the fucking reporter is asking him like, oh, how did you do that? Whatever. And he's like, oh, well, Harry here put some special tires on for us. And the guy's like, special tires? And I thought that Tom Cruise like gave away a secret that he wasn't supposed to. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh no, they're going to get in so much trouble. But Robert Duvall's just like, no, they're just regular old tires. And it was like, oh, you sneaky old fuck. Like Tom Cruise wasn't confident enough to do the move or whatever the fuck it was supposed to be.
Yeah.
But he told him like, oh, but we have special tires on there. Like treating him like a little kid, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where it's like, oh no, that's a magic flute. You can play any song you want. Like
it's like Michael Jordan's like special stuff.
Yes, exactly. Like it was in you all along. Mm-hmm. I thought that was wonderful, like just that sort of thing, like a devious little sneaky trick to get him to do what you want. And honestly, despite not being a huge like car person, I wanted that car building scene to be longer. I wanted to like see that car come together. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, here's the frame. And then a couple shots later, everything's on it.
Yeah.
And then a couple shots later, the engine's in. And then the next scene, it's on the road and they're going.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, I kind of wanted to see him like actually put that shit together.
Yeah. I did like seeing the like older riveting techniques. Like if you notice they look like spikes along all of the seams.
Yeah.
Those are old rivets. And then they'd go through and cut off the excess and like grind it down to smooth it out. Instead of like now it's just a like
Yeah. Yeah. I was hoping that would go for longer. I was a little bummed by that.
That would have been fun. There's a lot of Harry just talking to cars.
Okay, so there's a lot of that?
Okay, maybe not a lot, but there's definitely 2 scenes.
Okay, well that's still news to me because it was only that last scene when he's talking to the new car they've got put together for Cole. And he's like telling it, you take care of him. He'll take care of you. You don't hurt him. He won't hurt you.
Yeah,
everything's going to be good. Yeah, exactly. I loved it. I thought it was so wonderful. And then he notices the like oil underneath it or whatever. Mm-hmm. They have to get a new engine. And it was Randy Quaid who helped them for some reason. I don't care.
But no, earlier during the like build scene, like he gets the frame put together. Mm-hmm. And then he's talking to the car saying that like, we're going to put this in you. We're going to put this in you. And that and that. And he's just talking to the frame of the car.
Yeah.
Harry.
Yeah, we're going to turn you into, yeah.
Okay.
It was fun. I liked it. Mm-hmm. I liked the crew. Honestly, there really wasn't anybody in this movie that I didn't like performance wise.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody was great playing the roles that they were. The only one part really stuck out to me as being like, come the fuck on, movie. Really, movies just need to stop this so hard. It's when they go to get fucking looked at by the doctor, and there's that like other dude there in a suit. I don't even know who that dude is, like the skinnier guy, like a bald guy. I don't fucking whoever.
Yeah.
And fucking she says like something super simple. Literally, it's like something about the blah, 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 and the cranium and the whatever. Like things where it's like you can fucking context clues. You can figure out what she means. Like it doesn't even really matter what she means.
Yeah.
You just know like something bad happened to his head.
Yeah.
And the fucking other dude, as soon as she says it, goes like, whoa, English, doc? I was like, just use your brain for a moment.
Yeah.
Are you not an educated person who could fucking piece it together and figure out what she's talking about? Like it's not like she's diagnosing you, where it's like I need to understand exactly what you mean. It's like just chill. Everyone knows what we're talking about here, and she's gonna get to the point eventually. Like she understands she's working with laymen who aren't gonna understand super technical terms. So to be like English doc is like, yeah, we're gonna get to it.
Just hang on a second.
Chill the fuck out. But one other thing that the movie did that really bummed me out because I was like, okay, it's almost 2 hours long, you know what I mean? And there's so much stuff where it's like coming into it from like a super novice position, you know what I mean? Where it's like the most I know about NASCAR is Talladega Nights, there's not much more to it. And over the course of the movie, it's like, okay, I was learning it and I was learning like the lingo and the ways that they were driving and the techniques and this and that, and whatever. And they get to that last big final race. And it's fucking, essentially it's Cole versus Russ. There's apparently no other drivers who are even close to competing for this, which I thought would have been great if like somebody else won it instead of either of them. But the whole fucking time, everyone is saying what they are doing, even when it doesn't make any sense at all. Like Tom Cruise just being like, I'm going to try to take him on the outside now. It's like, why are you telling Harry this? What does he like? You're the one driving. You're the one who can see the spot. Like if you have a spot to take him, take him. You don't need to fucking like be like, oh Harry, is it okay if I slip ahead in this race? Like just drive. And I think Russ does it too, where he yells back to his chief, like he's trying to, or he's drafting behind me. He's gonna try to slingshot around me. And it's like, movie, trust us to understand that.
Yeah,
you literally had Tom Cruise explain it with sugar packets earlier. That is the quintessential like explain like I'm 5. So it's like the audience should get it by now. You don't need to have the characters saying it the whole time.
Yeah, and
it really robbed that ending of like a lot of the like tension of it because it's like, yep. All right. You're okay. You're going to do that. He's going to do that. And especially when he's like, he's going to go to the outside. That's what I know him. That's what he'll do. So immediately you're like, okay, so he's going to go to the inside. And then he does. And it's like, oh, gee, who saw that coming?
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe if you didn't have your characters telegraphing it 2 seconds prior, it might have been a little exciting.
Yeah.
That was stupid. I wish they had confidence in us to be like, you know what? They've seen this exact race scene like 8 times during this movie. So maybe just let it happen without people holding your hand through it. Like, and now the car is going to try to do what they call overtaking.
I did have to look up, though. I was not sure if like NASCAR or race cars had rear view mirrors. That seemed like weird to me.
I mean, I guess they would. Do they? Did you? I mean, you looked it up.
I did. Yeah, they're allowed.
Okay, so allowed, but not mandatory.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They can have like rear view mirrors and mirrors mounted to the roll cage in the car. But they cannot have any external mirrors.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense. They're just going to get fucking ripped off.
Yeah, right?
It's like, it's not even a case of like, you cannot have them. It's like, you might as well not, because you're not going to have them by the end of the race.
Yeah, it's just a waste of money to put them on there in the first place.
Yeah. I did really like the fact that every time you saw one of those rear view mirror shots of a car in there, it was all blurry, because it's like, because that car is not fucking riding smoothly at all. It's going fucking 200 miles an hour.
So is the car vibrating.
Behind it. Yeah, I know. So it's like everything's going to be vibrating. So it's really blurry. But I was like, that's super awesome and realistic. Like if it had been crystal clear, I think I almost might have realized how unrealistic that should have been, and be like, oh no, that's not how it would be at all. So I was really stoked about that. And everybody in this fucking movie, the alternate title for this movie, because in the end, Days of Thunder winds up meaning nothing to the movie. Nothing is called Thunder or Days or Days of Them.
Thunder Road.
Yeah, it's like it really doesn't factor into the movie all that much. So I was like, so the alternate title that really factors into the movie could just be Son of a Bitch. Because it's everybody says it. All of the drivers say it. Every single race. Like they get bumped a little bit. Son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. Everyone just screams son of a bitch all the time. And I was like, that is so funny. Like it's PG-13. So I get that. Yeah. Where it's like, that's kind of as hard as you can go. Like you can't, I mean, I guess you could say like shit. Crap. But that doesn't really get across the exact same point as son of a bitch. But I thought it was hysterical that was everyone's go-to exclamation when they get bumped, was just son of a bitch.
Yeah, I did make a note that they didn't use Thunderstruck at all.
Yeah, they did not.
I was disappointed by that.
As I say, they did not use Thunderstruck, but the music in this movie, oh my God, I loved it. Early Zimmer.
Oh yeah.
Early Hans Zimmer. Like this was like very early into his career. Apparently the movie prior to this that Tony Scott directed, he wanted Hans Zimmer for it, but he was too like unproven. So he didn't. And then for this movie, he got him.
Nice.
You know, so it's like early in his career, but holy fucking shit, dude. The fact that it's just like ripping 80s solos. It's like they just ripped all the solos out of 80s songs and we're just like, and that's the score. And that's the score. It's like, wow, and like synthesizers and shit. Like, oh my God, it made me think of the score for like Broken Arrow or something. Yeah. Where it's just like, I did not know. I mean, I knew, but it's like, I didn't know how great it could be to score a movie with wailing guitar solos. Like, if any movie should be scored with wailing guitar solos, it's this movie.
Absolutely.
So it was the like perfect marriage of fucking early Hans, because you know now Hans Zimmer music is a lot more like orchestral. You know, he's kind of dropped the wailing guitar solos, unfortunately. So it's like that era of Zimmer. And this movie, oh my God, what a marriage.
I'd like to think that Hans Zimmer could bring back the wailing guitars if he was given the right opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it depends.
Like Inception.
Yeah, that could have used, could have used some wailing guitar solos.
I mean,
I don't know about you, man, but I think Pirates of the Caribbean would have been way better with some fucking ripping guitar solos. That would have been the shit. Dun, 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 wow. Been fucking balling.
Every time Davy Jones shows up.
Yeah. I did read that fucking Hans Zimmer's like score for this movie didn't come out until like 6 or 7 years ago. Like they didn't actually release the score, like a soundtrack for people to own and listen to. I was like, How?
Why?
How was that not the first thing everyone was able to run out and buy as soon as you finish the movie? Like leaving the theater, like we are going straight to the record store.
Yeah.
And we are buying this and we are listening to this on the way home while we go 100 miles per hour.
Yes.
Like it's the only way to do it.
Circuit City, here we come.
Oh my God. The technical bits of this movie really were the best. It's like the directing was fantastic, the shots, the fucking racing, the music, the sound, all of that shit. And I mean, Tom Cruise wasn't even bad.
Yeah.
Like it's not like he was like, man, this guy's fucking garbage in this movie.
He was such a mouth breather though.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. And there was also just like sort of what we mentioned earlier. Sort of like what we mentioned earlier, the fact that like he just kind of didn't have much like character to him.
Yeah.
There was that one bit, I think it was in the van just before they get pulled over, where he's talking about like why he lost his ride at the previous race thing. And he's like, oh, well, the team president was a con man and blah, blah, blah. And then a few minutes later, he reveals that that con man was his dad. And it's like, oh, nothing ever again.
That's it.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, okay, so this is going to be sort of his deal, and Robert Duvall is like now he's his like father figure, right? And that's sort of what's happening here. And the movie was like, nah, we don't really care about that.
He's gonna go bang the doctor.
Yeah, like this is really all about banging doctors. Like, wait, what? Oh, overall, with as silly as bits could be on one side, and as like awesome as some of the like racing footage and stuff is on one side, it kind of did wind up being like, this was pretty okay. I did not love it. I liked it more than I thought I would, just based on like racing movie. It's like, it's not really my bag.
Yeah.
So I was like, this was actually more interesting than I thought it was going to be. I did not hate it.
Yeah, didn't hate it. You know, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it again necessarily, but it was a fun watch.
I think the one way that I would do the one way I would go and see it again in one way or another is if they had it for like $5 at the theater. Yeah. Just to see those racing scenes in a theater, big screen, big fucking surround sound, just to be like, oh, because it was really like that's one of the few car things that I'll like get into is like if a movie has like really well shot racing scenes
and really well done like sound design for those.
Yeah, exactly. Like that kind of grabs me a bit more. So it's like, if it was only $5, I might go and do it.
That is a fair point. I would do that.
And to hear that fucking Hans Zimmer soundtrack on the fucking speakers, like, oh, those solos. All right, I think it's gonna wrap it up for Popcorn for Dinner this week. This is Jeff
and Kelly.
Son of a bitch.